Chess and Twitch. It is the 1st of May, otherwise known as May Day. In some places, it's a holiday here in Hungary, but I'm back to work as usual. We are playing 8+3 today. It's our so-called Mindful Monday stream, when I've toned down the time control from formerly known as 15+2 to 8+3. Because the 15+2, someone was just talking about it, it didn't really allow for enough games, I think, in one stream. So we're going to be streaming today a little longer, till closer to 1 o'clock. Usually we do 2.5 hours. It's closer to 3. That'll give us time to play plenty of games at the 8-3 time control. Only one time control, no choices. This is a monopoly, basically. Welcome everyone, World Loser, Clash Kid. Who else is there? We had some other players in the chat, but I missed it already. So welcome everybody. We're going to get started. I think our first challenger was World Loser. I had to ask him to re-challenge from the previous time control. Tough opponent. By the way, guys, we had a simul last night. Some of you played, like Clash Kid. Really tough. 15 wins, 5 losses, and 5 draws. There were some piece drops by me. We were outplayed positionally in one game against Gary Topalov, but at the end I dropped a piece there too. So, got to get over this habit of dropping pieces when I'm in time pressure. I don't like to spoil the games with these kind of blunders. Probably oversleeping after his victory party. Oh, Plukro, no, our moderator, he told me he would miss today. Okay, World Loser, got white. He is... Sometimes I think World Loser would be interesting e4 player, but he's a good d4 player. What am I going to play today? Alright, I'll try to be serious. I feel like my best chance against World Loser is to, try to get him in the opening, basically. Queen b3, I don't know what it's called. Actually, I was like searching for a name, but it didn't come. It's similar to the classical variation. I mean, if I play c5, sometimes the lines can even transpose. It doesn't allow for castles or what else? b6. So c takes d. I mean c5, d takes c, knight a6. Once lost with white against FIDE master Charles Hartan. I remember when I transposed into a mainline Nimzo, I never did get properly developed in that game. Let's see, c5 takes knight a6. What's the advantage for this for black as opposed to the normal queen c2 lines? White can't play b4. Queen's vulnerable on b3. What else? Let's control the center. And with that variation, we could play c5 takes knight c6. That's kind of an interesting idea. Does make some sense. Why? Why is that not good for black? Can you play a Caro-Kann today? Peter 03, 09, 03, whatever. Peter with the numbers. Yeah, we can play the Caro-Kann. It's part of my normal repertoire lately. Kind of backup opening. Now World Loser decided to play knight f3. Okay, d takes c is definitely most common. I guess knight f3 can't be a bad move, can it? Probably we should just castle here. World Loser, again, not an opening expert, but he's very fast and practical, and he has a good general sense. But I have noticed one funny thing about him is that he plays kind of theoretical openings, like the Najdorf, without knowing that much book. Alright, d takes c5. My intention here was to play knight c6. I think we're going to stick with that. I was hoping that maybe I can exploit the queen later on b3. But, and it's a big but. With knight f3 included, knight f3 and castles, he could have played a3 there, which he couldn't before because of knight to d4, or at least it wasn't as good before. So there was a slight difference. I thought a3 might be interesting. Oh, now we have knight e4. On the negative side, knight e4 is not exactly what I would call a developing move. Simple solution is just to take on. I think this is simple and good. I mean, his queen is not well placed on b3 in this type of structure. He's going to have to lose a tempo, basically. So I'm comfortable here. The facial hair is crazy. Crazy, man. It's really highly unusual. It's not my first time. I'm just going to make some natural moves. He's of course using no time. Sorry for the deep breathing, guys. I have a little bit of a kind of, how to call it, what's the word I'm looking for? Asthmatic cough condition brought on by a previous cold. I feel this sensation like I have to cough, but I'm trying to keep it under control. What is knight b5 about? He just makes like insta moves. Queen a2. We're going to get out of here. Revert to our hedgehog setup. What's really, really amazing about World Loser is his speed of play. He's played this whole game in like 1 minute. Without making any kind of mistake at all. You can make an argument about like the validity of queen b3, but objectively, whatever. I mean, he's still not made a serious error at the rate he plays. And all of his pieces are coordinated now. Like knight b5 out in front of the bishop on b2 is a really good maneuver. That isn't that obvious. Because typically in this Queen's Gambit accepted kind of piece configuration, the knight on c3 tends to get in the way of the bishop on b2. So that's a pretty thoughtful sort of maneuver by white, I think, there. Alright, anyway. We can't let it sit there forever, I guess. Now, the problem is if I take on d4, position gets pretty weird. Weird good or weird bad? I don't know. But I want to open up my bishop as well. He's only got a 4-minute time advantage. Okay. Wow. Alright, I decided to go into this It's double-edged. How often do I play the English opening? Muleskin are welcome. I play the English opening all the time. I've always played the English opening regularly since I was a beginner. It was my first white opening, and it still remains sorry. Still remains a big part of my repertoire. I've got many cases where I play e4, d4, knight f3, but sometimes g3. But I still play c4, like probably 20% of the time, maybe even more when I'm white. 10 challenges already. So I thought we've got to kind of fix his pawns. He has a strong looking structure, but he gets a big hole on d5. This position could backfire, black. I don't know. Let's try to tie him down a little bit here. Kind of difficult to evaluate. White has a space advantage, but I thought the diagonal and the d5 square gives black quite a bit of counterplay. I have d6 as well. Wow, a4 he just played. I don't know, man. How does he play so fast? With that, he says he has a bad internet or something. It just bothers me how I'm always behind on the clock. And he never seems to make any mistakes. Well, there are occasional mistakes. Mindful Monday. This is not mindful. White's just playing like really fast. The dark square bishop can become trapped. Which dark square bishop? His or mine? Nobody's dark square bishop is going to get trapped here. My dark square bishop is very vital for like keeping his rook off of a5. And his dark square bishop, even though it's a bad bishop, it's got a lot of space. Position is pretty imbalanced, actually. I don't know who's better here. White has more space, but I have a good diagonal. I can use the d5 outpost. Excuse me. I'm not really sure whether I should play this move or not. Man, White has a lot of space here. Alright, so I trade rooks on a1. Tried to take over the file. Before he has time for any kind of counterplay, this pawn is a problem. He's so insanely fast. Did I miss knight c3 there? It looks like a pretty strong move. How is he so fast, man? He has almost 50% against me, which isn't a bad score for his rating. I mean, for someone like 2100 to have 50% against someone like 300 points higher, that's a pretty good record, I think. If I had any time to think against this guy, I mean, maybe I'd be all right. But just being in constant time pressure, I never have time to think. Mindful Monday. He should be happy for the new time control. I don't know how he can play so fast without making mistakes, to be honest. So that's it. I just didn't have time to find the best moves. Seconds, 7 seconds to his 3 minutes. Can you fix the board setup? I don't know what happened to the board. That's very strange. Why is it so big? What the heck is going on? Somehow the board changed. I must have hit a key or something. Was the board like that the whole time? I think I had already set it up before and it was fine. Sorry about that. So I'm like losing a piece here. Apparently I was okay, but I had no time. I was about to flag, so I blundered in this position. Too hard to play that with half as much time as my opponent there. I can't think that fast as him. Alright. I'm just not strong enough to move that fast in a complicated position like that. He's too good. Alright. Anyway. I don't know what happened with the board. I had it set up and looked good when I started. Just I'm too slow. That was a complicated position. I mean, it looks easy when you look at the computer engine, telling you that it's equal, but objectively, you don't know that, and I have to find like a very precise move in that position. Queen A8, which would take me probably a couple minutes to find. King Kong Harry D4. This is a good line for white. I think that I prefer knight F6 for black, being able to prepare D5, and basically this is playable for black. It's Fischer black against Korchnoi in a very famous game, but the variation I don't particularly like for black. That's my personal preference, to play knight F6 instead of bishop G7. Knight E2 take bishop. I mean, I don't want to take his bishop, in that kind of position. That's a really, really good knight you're trading for a kind of bad bishop. That's not what I want to do in that position. I just needed more time, but I can't deal with that kind of time pressure in a difficult position. Eventually, I made a blunder. Well, I was about to lose on time. I didn't see the move Queen A8. Too difficult with the flag hanging there to defend perfectly. A computer would obviously be fine. I'm not a computer, that's for sure. F5 is a good idea, King Kong Harry, but you're supposed to not give up your center. You're supposed to play D6. And then, I was talking about Fischer Korchnoi, like after D5, knight E5, knight D2, black plays F5. Fischer is black, Korchnoi, Fischer. It's the idea of playing F5 and the knight hiding on F7. I think this is just kind of a good position for white now. Playable, I guess, but ugly for black, a little bit ugly for black. DST, there's no way you can hear the horrible festival music from across the street. You listened to the stream yesterday or something? I mean, it's too soft now. I can barely hear it. In fact, it just started. But it's like a distant voice almost. No, I just woke up and the guy played really, really fast. I mean, it's a complicated position. I need to take some time, and apparently World Loser doesn't, But I said this before, I don't know how he's not like 2300 in Blitz if he can play that fast. He says he has a bad internet. I mean, that's what Constant Change says too. I don't see him having a bad internet. He never seems to get disconnected. Knight takes E5. He just plays amazingly good. The position was okay for me, but I'm not going to be able to find Queen A8 with my flag hanging unless I get lucky. It just has me on constant time pressure every single game. That is almost unbearable. It's impossible that I don't make a mistake. Yeah, you tuned in yesterday. It's a constant holiday here every week. It seems like there's a new holiday. There's like a parking lot across the street from where I live, and basically next to the city park. And these guys or companies or whatever, they find every excuse they can to run these really really cheap like carnival rides. But today is May Day, so it's technically a holiday for real. Just the worst pop music. Luckily, you guys can't really hear it. It's not blaring. Like in the evening, it's pretty bad. I like my position here, but again, not really fast enough. I don't know. Bishop g5, h6, another weakness, another day. Maybe I should do that, just induce a weakness in this position. World Loser said yesterday I played some games with Blue Crow, was disconnected in a winning position. Completely disconnected, like you couldn't get back. All right, so there's the weakening. I'm just gonna go back to e3 here. I mean, taking is something to think about. Takes knight d5, f4. White's position looks ridiculously good, but at the same time, I'm not fully convinced about it. Chess is a strange game. No matter how many fundamental principles he's broken here, I'm still not sure that I'm winning. Do you know Imre Balag? DST, why do you ask that random question? Of course I know Imre Balag. He's not like a personal friend of mine, but I've played him and met him before. You can pretty much count on me knowing any Hungarian chess player who's 2,500 and above. Most of the ones who are 2,400, some sort of sneak through the cracks, but it's not that big a country, DST. It's not like Australia, you know. We've got a pretty small geographical area here, so why do you ask about Balag Imre? He's a really good blitz player. My memory is not very good, but I think I played him just once. I could be wrong, though. I tend to forget things. The older I get, the less I know. That's what my mom says. He's on this site and he's ranked top 10 for Bullet. Yeah, he's a GM. He's a blitz player, dude. He's a known specialist. He plays tournament games in like 20 minutes. That's actually probably his greatest flaw. He plays too fast. He's a time specialist. He's super fast. Definitely right up your alley, DST. But probably a player who hasn't reached his full potential because of that fact. It doesn't look like he's improved at all in the last 6 or 7 years. Whereas most of the players his generation are like 2,600. He's like 25 something, and probably because he just plays bullet chess all the time. He's probably a good case study for my whole philosophy about not playing bullet chess and stuff like that. Look at the structure Black has. Bad isolated pawn here, weaknesses, his king's still in the center of the board. Yet, I couldn't find anything clear. Maybe I should have really gone for knight b5. He immediately stopped it. And I was just thinking, like, maybe I should have played knight b5 last move. Still, Black has probably beat d5 there, and I don't have a forced win. Maybe now, maybe now we have something concrete. Well, Aussie Smurf says, do I still play poker? I haven't played online poker at all in like the last year. I still play live, but there's not too much live poker here in Hungary. So I just play in some home games with friends, and the last time I went anywhere was in December. I played at Prague, the last EPT, like a whole bunch of side events. But I'm not really focusing too much on poker, so it's just a hobby at this point. And I don't really see that changing. I mean, I'm getting pretty old, so I think if I want to get serious about chess, this is basically my last chance. So poker will remain a hobby activity at this point, unless I come into a lot of money suddenly or something. All right, guys. We got a good structure. I like my position. Knight c8 is a big concession. That was his only way of concretely defending d6. Black should have found some active way of sacking a pawn or something. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, well, every country is different. I'm an outsider here, and I mean, the Hungarians are fairly friendly, but I've always been treated as kind of outsider. I'm not accepted like the Hungarian chess players as much. But working together is something that's tricky with chess players. Actually, anything like poker, chess. A lot of people don't want to share their knowledge, so that's tricky. That comment about DST. Cool idea of title players. They're also competing with each other, dude. So King Kong Harry. Well, we managed to find a tactic. Black's defense position became too passive. Structurally not good. I think you should have played f4, dude. When you reached this is bad for black, but I didn't exploit it very well. And here I thought, in this moment, f4. I'm thinking how unfair chess is, really, if black's okay here. But it's not that bad, is it? Descending. I thought descending might be not that bad for black. The engine loves it for white, but again, I'm not a computer. So I wouldn't have evaluated white's advantage as high as the engine says it is here. You know, maybe a pawn better at the most. I don't know. But I trust the computer's evaluation. It can see a lot further than me. Basically, I thought that might be a good way for black to go in a practical game. But the opening, you shouldn't give up your center on c5 takes d4. King Kong Harry. Play it like Fischer did against Korchnoi. It's still, like, I think, a very risky line for black. You can also, I have a friend who plays knight c6 to a5 in those kind of structures. But it's also extremely weird. The black knight has to go in some kind of weird path like a5 to b7. I don't really think it's really trustworthy. Nobody wants to share their ideas, you know, including me. I mean, I share my ideas with you guys. I mean, I'm not a top GM, but I don't know if my attitude would be different. But I do feel that, like, I don't know. It's hard living in a foreign country as an outsider. I don't think I'm quite as accepted to the inner circle. There's also the language barrier here in Hungary. People speak English, but not as widely as in some other foreign countries. So, as far as like communicating with other players, there are more limitations than other European countries probably. Knight f6, we're going to the dragon. Alright, Ara knight. What am I doing? It wouldn't let me play bishop e2. It's like, no, sorry, rejected. But as a view on the Grand Prix attack, I think it's really annoying, and I think it's good for, it's good for beginners up to a certain point. It's bad for players to continue to play that opening like it's their repertoire all their life. I think it's a good basic starting point, and it's a good system. But at some point, if you play that system to a level, it's going to stop working when you start playing master strength opponents. And anyway, you need to kind of branch out after a while. So I think I would recommend playing it as maybe your first system against the Sicilian or something like that. But kind of like the London system, I wouldn't spend my career playing just like one system like the Grand Prix attack. You need to branch out. Anyway, it's better for your game to learn more complex kind of variations like the open Sicilian. But as a starting place, it's not bad. Mule Skinner says he lives in Spain. The Spanish are the worst English speakers in Europe. That's interesting. I mean, I've been to Spain, not recently, but I was in the past a lot. And it didn't bother me because I do speak some Spanish. Whereas like with Hungarian, I was clueless. I'm getting better. I played King H1. This is a pretty rare variation. Facundo Pierrot played this against me. I was black. I played the black side of the dragon. The classical, at least. When I play the accelerated dragon, you can't avoid the classical variation. Some lines of the dragon you can't avoid. I don't play the main line Yugoslav with black. So, World Loser, are you talking about the Grand Prix attack? If black's prepared, white has nothing. Yeah, I mean, I think that white can get like equality at the best, probably equality with the Grand Prix attack. It's basically like you're playing, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like a closed Sicilian. It really is a closed Sicilian of another variety. If you like closed positions like Mule Skinner, if you're a real specialist with closed positions, that Grand Prix attack is pretty good. But I don't know, I'm not going to say it's bad. I actually recommended the repertoire as black against the English in a video series I did. You can play the reverse Grand Prix attack too, a tempo down. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I just don't think it's dangerous if black's well prepared, like World Loser said. Knight A5 now. I have like tricks with E5, but I don't think it really does anything. He just plays knight E8 here. Like E5, knight takes B3, pawn takes F6. Probably wins material. Or E5 takes, queen takes D8, knight takes A5. But E5, knight E8, I guess that's the end of the line. Never seen it played directly against King H1 though. It looks really early to play knight A5. It's a normal idea though. Why don't you teach English to rich Hungarian kids? Where do you come up with this stuff, man? Rich Hungarian kids. Yes. Hello, rich Hungarian kids. The average, like, income here is like $10,000 a year, right? I have a friend, I won't say name any names, who's a grandmaster, and he told me that as far as like teaching lessons to students, he's not really he teaches lessons, but he's not really truly a true chess teacher. He's a chess player who teaches chess, and he was joking how when he meets a new prospective student, he says to them like, are you rich? Because he says like, if they're not rich, he would refer them to a real teacher. That's his joke. All right. Interesting idea, this knight a5 business so early on move 9. I mean, obviously king h1 has to do with playing f4. And ultimately controlling the d5 square. Avoiding any kind of tricks with queen b6 check. Anyway, welcome guys. I have a YouTube channel as well. Video chess training on YouTube. Once a week or so I try to upload an instructional video. Do you see, if I wanted to be rich, I wouldn't be playing chess. If that was my main priority. I would have actually done something with my college degree. Probably. Like entered the business world. But c'est la vie. We've got 9 challenges, guys. It's f4. Yeah, kids, if you want to be a millionaire, I think that you stop the chess career early. Like, that's probably not. This is not the place to go if your main priority is wealth. Not the career choice for the wealth obsessed. All right, here we are, bishop f3. Cost of living must be very low. Well, it's creeping up, right? It's that online wiki. I don't know where you're from, but we've got a lot of European viewers here. Mule Skinners in Spain, World Losers in Poland. I'm sure it's comparable to Poland. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. It's probably comparable to Poland. Other countries in the region. I'd imagine the cost of living in Spain is a little bit higher than here, but I'm not sure. Depends on the region, probably. CCETS says, I have a friend working for an American multinational in Ireland who now earns 10 times what he earned in Hungary in a year. Dude, I mean, there's no doctors left in this country because they all went, to other European countries, basically. At least anyone who could speak English. I'm sure this is not the only country where that's a trend. I don't know where to put my queen, d3 or e2. Why? The problem with d3 would be knight d7, maybe. On the plus side, anyway, let's focus on chess here now. We lost one game to World Loser. We got kind of good game the last game with White, and now Aura Knight. He's been tough. He won the last 2 against me. A couple draws before that, so he hasn't lost since the first 3. So a good score. Better than you're supposed to do, although these may be simul games. Yesterday we had a simul here on lichess, 25 players. Well, Aura Knight now, I mean, he's very solid, like ridiculously so. I've noticed this now lately. In the last several games, he did win a couple games in equal endings. But I can't seem to get an advantage against him to begin with. That's my problem with him. Unlike World Loser, he he doesn't really make any mistakes in the opening stage, and he's extremely solid and very, very good at endgames. So totally different player than most of the more aggressive players I've faced here. Aura Knight is just ultra solid. Thinking about b4, but he plays a6, and it's kind of like, so what? What's he setting up with rook e8, by the way? Oh man, I don't know what to do. Where to put my rooks here? I mean, I don't know. My position's okay, but I don't have an advantage. It looks like I have some kind of spatial advantage, but I don't. I think it's just kind of an illusion, to be honest. We'll just put our pieces in the middle and hope something good happens. I don't really have a plan here. Right. So my big idea was b4. Rook e1 didn't really achieve too much. When black remains ultra solid in this position. I do have b5 though, I just realized. It doesn't do anything though. Other than that, it's good. His bishop on g7 is becoming a strong piece suddenly. Of course, I mean, I'm used to playing these kind of lines with black. And I know what... I mean, I'm good sort of prophylactically thinking about what the other guy is trying to do. And I know what he's trying to do. b5 just has all sorts of problems here. I feel like I'm playing the Philidor, maneuvering my queen to c4 so I can threaten some kind of cheapos. Black's just better here. Our knight is 2208 in bullet. It's impressive. I didn't realize he was so good at bullet. I want to keep my b4 pawn protected. That's impressive. He's 2208 in bullet, 2192 in blitz, 18 games in classical only. So the classical rating is kind of... This rating is sort of based on very few games, inaccurate. He's 2208 in bullet. That's pretty strong. He should be 2100 FIDE at least, without that kind of rating. But he's playing better than that against me, I think. You got him a little. He's a little passive, okay? I mean, he's playing a little passively, but just obscenely solid. You would never know that he was 2200 in bullet. He's not like World Loser where he's trying to like blitz me. He takes his time, tries to play the best moves, and only plays fast if he has to, which I think that's the way to go. You know, that's definitely the best way to play chess. use your time practically. It looks like I've kind of overextended myself a little bit. I don't know how I beat him the first 3 times. I don't remember. Very long ago. But maybe now we can finally do this. My only fault with Black's play here is that he's been a little passive. But it's probably not too bad. Queen takes or pawn takes or rook takes. Queen takes is out. Pawn takes or rook takes. Rook takes, I guess. But it's equal. It's just dead equal. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe one side or the other is better here. I don't think that it's very big. Black is like 0.1 better because my f-pawn's a little extended or something. Your engine says it's dead equal. I don't know. I didn't get anything. I don't really believe that white should get anything in the classical variation, but I think that most people don't know how to play against it. But our knight seems like he's candidate master strength. So he understands how to play. Apparently he was fairly significantly better here at one moment. Yeah, queen b6. I was a little worried about that. Even b5 might be possible, I thought. So he missed his best chance. Playing a little bit too passively there, I thought. Dude, it's called move on to the next game because this one is boring. You have to realize that at master level, probably like 70% of games are draws. I mean, at strong master level. That's the way it is, man. Like, I'm exaggerating. Probably 60% of games are draw. When you have a GM tournament, chess is a draw, by the way. Like, if both sides play correctly, the guy's like, why a draw? That's unfortunately, like, best play by both sides. Chess is probably a forced draw. 60% of Grandmaster games are usually draws, and that's just the reality. You know, this position is dead equal. We can sit there and shuffle our opposite color bishops back and forth, but I think it would be more instructive for everyone else if we if we play a different game. You know. We can move the opposite color bishops back and forth for 200 moves if you like. But I think that's not the most efficient use of our time here for these unrated training games. Muleskinner, interesting choice. I like this for black. Actually, against this setup with knight f3 and c4, there just aren't a whole lot of ways for black to get an interesting game and to get a dynamic kind of position where white can do something wrong. And I think his chosen system here to play d6 and bishop g4, it's I don't know what it's called. If you do this against e4, like e4 d6, actually I guess if you do d4 d6 knight f3 bishop g4, that's called the Wade defense. You can kind of do it against anything, but honestly, I was thinking of playing this myself with black. Okay, knight e7 is a little weird. I don't understand what that's about. Typically, the knight doesn't go to e7 in this line. Maybe mostly knight f6 or c6 and d5. Knight e7. That's pretty extreme. I don't know what he's got in mind with that. All right. I think it's a good. I think it's a good way for black to play for a win against knight f3, c4 type players who just have such solid setups. Usually, they always get the kind of position they're aiming for. It's just not that dynamic for black. I think that this idea d6 bishop g4 it's risky, in that you give white a space advantage. But I think if you really want to win against one of these flank opening type players like me, not me, but weaker versions of me, I think really seriously. I mean, knight f3, c4. It's irritating to play against, even for people who play it themselves. I have to play against it, even though I often play it myself. Just so solid for white. But knight e7 is kind of weird. Are you going to do some kind of Prohaska Peter Caro-Kann type of thing with putting the knight on c8? There's this grandmaster here in Hungary. I've known him since he was a kid. Prohaska. He basically plays the Caro-Kann. He always used to play the Caro-Kann, but some sort of advanced variations that are very passive, like putting his knight from e7 to c8. I couldn't really bring myself to play that kind of setup. White would have a big space advantage with like e5 and c5. He'd be crawling around with his knight on c8. I mean, it's a lot of space advantage to give to the opponent. Interesting. And black, I'd be surprised if knight e7 is really a theoretical move. But he can turn it into a kind of Caro-Kann with his bishop outside the pawn chain. That's the idea. Typically the knight goes to f6. Now I don't have to cooperate here. It's almost like he wants me to play e5 and go into the advanced Caro-Kann. I think it's not a bad move, probably to play e5, but objectively, I'm not sure. Knight e5. Knight e5 looks interesting. Taking on d5. If we play knight e5, how are we taking back on e2? Black is undeveloped with his king in the center, so it does make some sense to maybe open the position here. C takes D, C takes D. What can I do though? Knight e5. I could end up with an isolated pawn. If I just leave the tension, well, maybe I should. I mean, he's not really threatening anything here. Unless you consider knight g6 a threat. I mean, bishop takes f3, pawn takes f3. Castles is a problem. If I play bishop, castles, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, pawn takes pawn, he could try to take a pawn. Maybe I shouldn't do that. I don't know, man. It's kind of a tough decision. Too many draws in modern chess. I mean, I don't think it's just modern chess. If you look in the database, okay, modern chess. If modern chess incorporates everything like in the last 100 years, okay, yeah, probably. It hasn't changed. But I mean, I don't think there's more draws now than there were in the 60s. If that's what you think, I think it's a fallacy, Probably it's around the same. I don't think it's changed dramatically like in the last 10 or 20 or 30 years, the number of draws. I think they were always there. We're just more noticing it because of watching these super grandmaster tournaments and people complaining about draws in the audience. But I mean, it always existed, a lot of draws. Maybe if we go back 100 years to the Morphy, well, whatever. Go back 100 years to a lot of romantic players or something. You start to get some romantic players who sacrificing rooks and stuff. Draws are part of the game, I guess. Just can live with it. I don't know. Ardenite says, want to say that I'm not CM strength, but my classical rating is quite low compared to my FIDE Blitz, which is literally 2100. Well, that could simply be due to lack of games, you know. I mean, if you play like one tournament a year, I don't think your rating is going to be too accurate. No, how many rated games is your classical rating based on? So I decided to play with this knight active on e5. We don't have much advantage. It's a little something. Maybe any tricks? Like knight takes e4. Looks pretty cool, actually. Could go for it. Knight takes e4 here. Some kind of tactical tricks. Based on knight takes f7, man. There's all sorts of possibilities. The problem is if knight takes e4, knight f5, and then there's this bishop check coming in on b4. That's going to be my real problem. Then we have to move the king somewhere. We'd have to play king f1, like knight takes e4, knight f5, knight takes f7, something like that. It's looking kind of risky. Again, I wish I had more time to calculate that stuff. Black's pretty solid here. Our knight is very solid. I don't know. Even if your rating is below 2100, I would think that you're better than that based on your play against me. You need a lot of games till your like ELO rating would be statistically relevant, I would think. You know, I don't think that people with like 20 rated games are really playing with a rating that's that relevant. Here we go now. Just let him trade off my knight on e5. Waste time. What are my choices here? Knight f3 back. Knight f6. Something like queen e2. I don't want to trade pieces. Man, how do you get a FIDE Blitz rating? Even I don't have a FIDE Blitz rating. I mean, these have only existed for a few years. But is this something from online are you talking about, or literally like over-the-board Blitz tournaments? There's probably a few tournaments here in Hungary that have counted for FIDE Blitz ratings, like Hungarian Blitz Championship. I didn't play. I was doing something else that day. I'm not even sure if I would be allowed to play in that because I'm like a not Hungarian player. I wasn't sure about the rules. I should double check. That should be coming up actually. I'll have to look it up. I mean, Blitz and rapid ratings, FIDE Blitz and rapid ratings have only existed for like the last maybe 7 years, 6-7 years at the most. Maybe even not that much. But they do have their online FIDE arena. I mean, I'm not happy with FIDE, and I don't believe in it. It should be run by an authoritarian dude who's like corrupt, but it's the only game in town as far as ratings. But I wouldn't play on FIDE Arena. You know, there's like these online arena titles now. They'll do anything for money. Alright, we're trying to keep the pieces on the board here. Keep the pizzas on the board to... Back. Back, Cujo. Drive him away from the center. It's not that big a deal. You know, just by exchanging one set of pieces, Mule Skinner has made his life pretty easy, to be honest. I thought 97 was okay. Someone's saying bishop f4, but where? Before he played queen c7, obviously. That was what World Loser was saying. I guess it's a little late now. Trading pieces, again, not on the agenda. When you have a space advantage, it's usually in your best interest to avoid exchanges. Here, it might already be too late. Just that one exchange of pieces helps black a lot. I initiated it with 95, but I mean, it was kind of unavoidable with the bishop on g4. Mule Skinner is tough. His score doesn't reflect it, but like, he's gotten better lately. And yeah, I can play 95, but what does it do? The knight at f5 is kind of weird. It can get hit by g4. Although that weakens my king side at some point now. Maybe we have some attack. g4, g5 with the rook on d3. I also have bishop f4 now. And bishop f4 is kind of doesn't really do anything, I feel like. Playing like a wild man here with g4. Only justified by my rook on d3, some kind of lateral attacking plans. Usually I play a much more controlled sort of game. But I feel like with my space advantage, I almost have like a... Oh man, he went for this. I feel like I'm almost obliged to do this. Direct, primitive, caveman-like attack. Screw the structure. Play for space and mate. I was hoping he wouldn't play knight h4, just something passive with knight d6. But ultimately, I think he's got problems here. We could play king h1 and rook g1. This is an irritating move. I don't like trading pieces, I told you guys already, but this particular situation, it seems like the knight is more dangerous than his bishop. How am I going to get rid of that knight on h4? Otherwise, without chopping it. You've got to admit we have good control of the center. Now which way do I go here? I'm sure this even threatens anything. What's up now? Rook g1 takes on d4. He's so solid here. Good God. I don't even have a plan, man. I don't know what to do. Alright, well that's it, man. I have to play d5. You gotta be kidding me. Alright. Mule Skinner losing the exchange and resigning. I mean, what's really going on in that game? Was I even better? The reality was really close. Like this position, it says I have just the most minuscule advantage. That was pretty well played. I should have played 97 check there. I didn't see that, honestly. But why? Apparently I have a lot of good moves. No, this was good enough. Okay, my engine's a little slow. Anonymous Network played some exceedingly strange games against us in the past. Yeah, well, Clash Kid, we can kind of say FIDE as a joke, but the world is stuck with this chess organization, and it's in pretty big chaos at the moment. I don't know what's going to happen, but would be good to just dump it and start over again. But I feel like Kasparov should have used his sway with Magnus Carlsen or something to get him to. Maybe if Kasparov would influence Carlsen to step away from FIDE, you know, that would be enough to do the trick. But Magnus probably doesn't want to take the risk of losing his world championship. But I've talked about this before, and I don't think Kasparov should be like the president of FIDE or the World Chess Federation. He's too political. Should be someone neutral. Alright, Anonymous Network now suddenly playing a normal opening. It's kind of weird. This guy's played some really absurd stuff against me, like A5, Rook A6, and now he's coming with the King's Indian. I have played actually, this particular variation played by Anonymous Network here was played against me by Alek Wojtkiewicz in a tournament game, which I lost. Probably the exact same position I lost with the white pieces against Wojo a long time ago, back around 1999, 1998, 1999. Remember losing that game. Not really sure what I'm supposed to do here. Usually black plays e5 first. Or loser was an arena GM. To keep this title, you have to pay every year. Sick, dude. I didn't realize it was that easy. I mean, no offense intended, but I never logged on or created an account. I mean, I definitely wouldn't support FIDE financially with a $10 donation. If I play bishop f1, I've got to be a little bit wary of something here. Bishop e3, knight g4. So you can make a case for h3, perhaps. I think we can make a case for h3. Slightly weakening the king side, but we can transfer to a kind of fianchetto type of setup with like bishop f1, g3, etc. later on. But Anonymous Network, he plays super fast. Some other players we know. Mule Skinner said, what? c4, d4, and e4 again. What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean, Mule Skinner. The setup I played against you was c4, d4, and e4. I like to play c4, d4, and e4. I mean, that's my, kind of old repertoire. There was a long period where I played mostly d4, and like against the modern defense, I used to like to play setups based on c4, d4, and e4. Full queen pawn center. But I've played, many different sort of lines. I basically tried everything against the King's Indian. Yeah, I mean, the world chess, whatever it's called, is really dubious. It's just a mess. The whole FIDE, World Chess Federation political situation. I don't know what's going to happen. Apparently they're running out of money. I mean, the FIDE. The shit may start to hit the fan soon, so we'll see over the next couple of years, I think. Ultimately, what's gonna go down is probably gonna go down fairly soon. If there's gonna be any changes. I feel like Magnus, as the world champion, has kind of responsibility to stand up, for what's right. And he's basically taken no position at all. Condoning them by participating in a world championship. I don't know. I was of the impression that he was close to Kasparov, but one would think that if he was, his chess political agenda would be different. Not sure how close Mags is with Kasparov in reality. I mean, I know they train. He helped train Carlsen to some degree, but I don't know enough to speculate on Carlsen's opinion about FIDE. Seems like he's trying to play the fence, politically all the time. Here, I don't know what to do. Let's get my rook off the long diagonal. Let's not degenerate into a USA political presidency discussion. They love to talk about that, internet trolls. But we're going to focus on chess here. No, it's a discussion about FIDE and the World Chess Federation, not about the United States presidency here. That's another topic for a political stream. Back to basics. Kasparov and Carlsen not really close. Yeah, I'm getting that feeling too. I mean, you heard the talk when Kasparov was helping him somewhat years ago, but pretty much, you can pretty much figure out that it can't be too close. I don't think Carlsen would just sit by and twiddle his fingers and pretty much play whatever tournaments FIDE organizes. If Kasparov had any say about it, if he had any influence on Carlsen as world champion. Alright guys, I don't know what to do here. Maybe just expand with b4. Am I asking too much here? Dude, let's just refrain from the Donald Trump speculations, okay? World loser. This is not the place for that. It's just too polarizing, and it destroys the stream. So, whatever side of the debate you're on, this is the typical thing this guy does. He just puts his pieces on the back two ranks and starts shuffling them around, like, aimlessly. Again, it's not really chess. I don't know, like, what the goal is here for black. But it's something about this guy. He plays a lot of crazy house, I think. Does that make sense? I mean, for someone who plays a lot of crazy house, I don't know. You know, to start playing really weird, where you just like huddle your pieces on the back two ranks and move real fast without creating any targets. Do you think is that something from Crazy House, possibly? An influence on his play? Why the sit on my first three ranks and shuffle the pieces back and forth without creating weakness? This is not chess, dude. You're just playing like weird huddling of the pieces on the back two ranks. And he never creates any real serious weaknesses. It's strange. Now that's something. Okay, now you've done something. Okay, that's a step. F5 is a chess move. Now I don't know if it's a good one or a bad one though. That's the open question here. I think I have to rethink what we're doing here. A little bit tricky if f4, if I go there. It looks like we've got site update in progress. So I might lose on time. I'm not really sure. I can't move. I made queen c2, but it didn't count apparently. I don't know. I hope this game could get aborted if the site update. We had the same thing the other day, Friday, where the site went down for like a couple minutes as a result of the site update. I have a bad feeling that's going to happen here again today. No, we got to move. 4 minutes to 1 now. And the hippo waiting game. Black is playing. It's a very, very strange position here. I mean, I played the proper hippo myself, but this is going a little bit too far. This is the same guy who played a5, rook a6 against me in the opening, by the way. Let's just get in the center. Centralize. Rook d1. I'm not sure if bishop c1 is good ultimately. I mean, it does leave my knight a little bit less well protected. Now everybody is... Well, it's risky. Maybe I should consider g3. There's a problem with pawn takes pawn, and I'm going to lose on time as well. Okay, that was a mouse slip. That was really weird, too. Like, I didn't click on the e5 square at all, and it just squeezed my pawn out there. Wow. Okay, so this I just clicked on the pawn, and it just went to e5, but I was going to take on f5. That was really weird. Kind of a mouse slip, literally. But now I don't really like my game. I'm kind of overextended. I mean, obviously I'm not playing e5 here. All my pieces are set up for opening the center. So this is just a tragic, tragic mouse mistake. I just kind of squeezed the mouse button and it just squeezed the pawn up to e5. I would never play that move in a million years. So now what? Now we got a really sick position with everything locked completely. I guess white still theoretically has more space, but I'm not sure I can break this position open. Why don't you click take back? A lot of times the option isn't there. You see a take back option? It's not working, see? It's not on. He's got 3 minutes. If both players don't have take back enabled, then I guess take back is not an option. I don't think that Anonymous Network would be down with take backs. This guy who plays for time and just basically shuffles his pieces around. I mean, if anybody is like not down with take backs, it's gonna be this guy, you know. I mean, absolutely not a take back kind of player. So looks like he's in heaven here. And this is supposed to be Mindful Monday, but this is just shifting your pieces around in crazy fashion. Now he's actually winning, I think. Anyway. Interesting game. Like chess from another dimension or something. But it was just this insane mouse slip. I didn't want to play e5. So anyway, no takebacks. Clash Kid. I'm not really interested in the game after e5, to be honest. And that's not a move I would ever play. Ever. My whole position is based on opening the center when he's got weaknesses and stuff like that. So I don't really care about losing after that mouse slip. It just doesn't interest me. The position. Both sides have to have the take back. The take back option like available. Yeah, well, I mean, it was just a stupid position. I just am happy it's over, you know. I don't want to play that game. That's not chess, dude. It's like checkers with checkers with all the position locked up. That guy is very strange. I don't know. I mean to hurt his feelings, but I don't understand what how you can play chess like that. It's totally alien to me. And he seems strangely strong, despite playing this really, really bizarre style. That I wouldn't imagine is possible for most people. Clash Kid with G6 here, you're kind of playing like a white Catalan type position. The tempo down. Grunfeld. Can you do that? Yeah, I was actually happy to have the game be over with any result. I don't want to play that position. I was actually going to let my time run out 2 moves earlier. I don't know if you saw that, but I was not interested. Wanted to get away from that guy like his life depended on it. I don't really want to play with that guy. I mean, I don't understand what he's trying to prove with this, like, really absurd games. I mean, probably I shouldn't even accept his challenges after playing like a5 and rook a6 against me. That should have been the last game I play against him. It's like insulting and ridiculous to play a5 and rook a6 against the title player. But today at least he played like normally in the first 8 moves or so. Queen b6 is probably like the only move here for black, huh? Only good move. I guess you could do knight takes d4. That's not good though. I mean, it really helps white's development. Queen b6. Hold on a second, guys. Check something. Alright guys, back again. According to Piece of Sheet, the last game was equal after the last move, but I seriously, I could play knight e2 and not lose the exchange, but I know, it's not chess, dude. Whatever. This is actually a position I had in a simul. I just realized. Wait a minute. Clash Kid, this transposes to my game with, who was it? Did you know that I had this game last week? I just remembered. C takes d, knight takes d4, bishop e3, knight takes e2 check. Well, let's do it again. It worked out okay for me. I think I got the advantage with c takes d. It is Grunfeld reversed. There's something weird about that last player. Let's just leave it at that. I mean, I don't know what his deal is, but it's like a5, rook a6 against me, playing this alien style of chess. I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate on what it is. It's maybe just joking around. I don't know. But I try to play serious chess here, you know, and I don't think that's his priority. But anyway, the last game was messed up by the mouse slip completely. I mean, it just destroyed the whole position that I played e5. I have to play e takes f and open the center. My pieces are centralized. He has a lot of weaknesses in his structure. If I play e5, I mean, my whole position just goes out the window strategically. So, ironically, this game is one I had last week. And after bishop e3, that player played knight takes e2 check. Now, I'm not sure that's the best move, and I don't think I actually analyzed it with the engine. I didn't have time. I think it might have been last week's simul. Every Sunday I do a simul at 6:30 p.m. CET. So, but I try to play real chess here, you know. I don't play stupid openings. We have Weird Wednesday on Wednesdays where I play unusual lines that I don't normally play. But I would never play a5 or something like that on the first move. This is a waste of time. We try to make it instructive. That's the main goal of my stream, is playing instructive and interesting chess. So Clash Kid takes up the challenge here. He goes with e5. Now again, I said I did not analyze the last game, the last time I played this, and it's possible that Clash Kid has found an improvement on the last time I played this line. He plays e5, protecting his knight. We take on e6, undermining his knight. And I may be not getting my piece back. Clash Kid, why would you do that? I thought the entire point here is to play bishop c5. Dude, I don't know what's going on after bishop c5. I mean, you're keeping your extra piece. I have knight c3. Maybe there's no defense? Whew, that's crazy. Okay, it's pretty complicated. Knight c3 threatening knight a4. He has knight takes e6, knight a4. There's also pawn takes f7. Alright, we're going to have to submit this to the computer, but he's played a similar variation, to the last time I faced this. Slightly different version of, I can't remember who I was playing. One of the players in my Sima last week. So I guess he's gonna get away here. We do have a fork on c7. Family fork. Can play 4. What if he's Chess Network? Yeah. Chess Network has a little more respect for me than that. Bishop g7. So we've got that fork on c7. I just don't see how he's going to really defend against that. Knight b5. The weak link in Black's position, the c7 square, also the d6 square potentially. But anyway, moving on. I don't care that I lost on time, or resigned. It was not a position I wanted to play. I've been known to resign quite often when I'm not lost. I have a pretty solid track record for doing that. Like, I can cite at least 3 or 4 times, probably more. I actually fairly often resign in not lost positions. If I just don't like a position, or I feel like I don't want to play it, or if I don't realize I'm not losing a piece, which happens pretty often, I'm pretty quick to press the resign button. Of course, we're doing this for the benefit of everyone, and I want to play as many games as possible, so it's okay. Yeah, Jerry's cool, and I appreciate Jerry is like a Chess Network. He's kind of a pioneer in chess streaming. So, I mean, I was commentating, since even before his video started, but as far as actually like streaming online, and making videos, okay, not streaming, but Jerry's, of course, the recorded videos are his original thing. But I do, appreciate what Jerry does, and he's been good for promoting chess. All right, so he's gonna trade queens. What do we do? Bishop h3. That's a whole rook, dude. No. If you take with the bishop, it's just the exchange. Alright, you can't give me a whole rook. I was thinking about bishop f3. Now he's just a clean exchange down. Ooh, do we want to be greedy and grab another pawn? Well, not really. I mean, he's going to go rook b8 and then grab on b2 and get the a7. Yeah, I think we can be greedy. 2-for-1 sale. Doesn't have knight d5, knight d4, any kind of counterplay. And we got the A guy. This pawn will win. My A pawn. Let's see, he has some kind of trick I didn't see. He gets some play on the long diagonal, but I didn't really take it seriously. Maybe I should have been more concerned about some sort of counterplay. I didn't see an obvious move that looks threatening here. This is lost, yeah. I'm curious about the opening, though. I mean, maybe he can just stay up a piece there with bishop c5, and he improved on that other game I had. It's an intuitive piece sacrifice for white, and I thought it was good because last game we had it in the simo and black didn't find a refutation, but e5 is very logical. My gut instinct is that I have enough compensation for the sacrifice piece after pawn takes e6, bishop c5. We should have enough comp. But reality and gut instincts are different things in many cases. We need to get this A pawn going. He doesn't have any kind of devastating discovery. I thought maybe we can lift the rook to a safe square behind, staying behind the A pawn. Thank you guys for watching today. 77 viewers. Time for a new mouse. I just have nostalgia for my old mouse. But man, I don't know, man, that click on e5, I really didn't think I misclicked it. It just instantly put it there. I think I was clearly better before that. Clash Kid, no counterplay here. Not really. Alright, let me see this opening again before we start the next game. Guys, by the way, I have a YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Check it out. We upload a new video there once a week or so. Also, all the streams that I do, I upload over to YouTube, Video Chess Training on YouTube. So anyway, I mean, according to the computer, I'm supposed to play like bishop e3 here, or knight takes c6, some kind of ordinary move. This is a speculative line, so it's apparently not really good. Playable, but not as good as the normal moves. Yeah, so it looks like the main line is what we said with bishop c5. Now the computer is not sure, changing its mind now. Got to give it some time. I've got a very, very full computer. It's a little slow. I'm not sure about my engine. Stockfish running on my machine is probably not the fastest. So, but it apparently might be okay. Let's see. Knight takes d4. Bishop e3. e5 only move. Well, not only move. I mean, he has a piece to give away. I think our other customer played knight takes e2 check here. Black was in really bad shape. That's the second best line. No, e5 is definitely the best move. We have to take, and so this is the key position. Apparently this is good for white. My intuition is correct. So bishop c5, knight c3, that's what I said. Not takes on f7, which actually kind of helps black develop, ironically. Knight c3, threatening knight a4. Apparently white's clearly better. Wow, that's pretty wild. I mean, I couldn't calculate this far in such a fast time control, but I mean this far, but as far as it would be necessary to prove this is a winning position, another 5 or 6 moves probably. That Stockfish is analyzing depth 21, 22 here before pronouncing 1.4 advantage for white. I mean, I'm kind of like, okay, knight takes e6, knight a4, and my intuition says that I'm in good shape. That's about as far as I can go. Wazza says, what's wrong with queen d7 or queen e7? Oh, okay. If you want to go a step further, well, he didn't play the critical line. Now we're probably like just clearly better. So after knight b5, apparently I should have played queen b5 check. Yeah, I mean, it looks like he should try to protect c7, but let's look at the engine's suggestion here. Queen e5. I'm pinned on the e-file, so the best I can do is something like queen c4. It's very complicated. Yeah, absolutely. He shouldn't just let me fork him. Queen e5. And then queen c4. There's no fork. Castles. Knight c7. I've got tricks with bishop f4. And it's very tactical. Bishop e6, queen c5. Another cool way to try to win the exchange. And then it gets really bizarre. Apparently I win the exchange. Knight g4. This is the best moves according to my computer. But it's still kind of complicated. It looks like I still have a very large advantage. Probably winning the exchange for some amount of compensation. But anyway, like, it looks like the variation is just too risky for black to play. Okay, guys, let's continue with Aldisto and Constant Change. Really tough opponents here. I just wouldn't go there with black. I mean, I think it's just too dangerous. So the variation should be avoided. Okay, English opening. Let's play something kind of different. I usually play the symmetrical or sometimes the hedgehog, but I thought we'll go with c4 e5 today. I don't think I've played I haven't played this against Aldisto, definitely. This is a variation I used to play years ago with black. I had a game with Simon Williams. The only game I ever played with him in a tournament when he was like a kid, when he was a teenager, or even he was probably like 13 or something. And it was a really funny game where I sacked a piece for 3 pawns. It was a draw. I don't know if I could even find the game score. But Aldisto played g3, which is a very principled move. I once lost a game and it was published in Inside Chess, a now defunct chess magazine, published by John Donaldson, Yasser Seirawan. I think I played something like bishop takes c3, b takes c, and f5, and I tried to play like a Grand Prix attack. It didn't work out real well for me against Alexander Kallichstein. I'm not objectively sure what the best is, but I think that black can't rush with f5. That was my mistake against Kallichstein. I just kind of neglected my development too much. It's okay to play bishop takes c3, probably. He took the other way, which is also viable for white, quite solid. It's more dynamic to take this way. So now, again, like f5 seems playable. I'm not sure it's... not sure it's necessary, basically. I mean, f5 is kind of a risky move, sort of weakening, and we can play that later. But Grand Prix attack reversed with f5. There is a very strong bishop on the long diagonal here, and I think we don't really have a lot of choice. I mean, we've got to resolve the situation here on the long diagonal, and anything else would be very weakening for black. So knight c6 is more or less forced. Guys, I'm streaming a little bit longer today, probably till around 12:45 or maybe even 1 o'clock. Usually I quit at 12:30, but for Mondays I try to make the stream a little bit longer. Last game though, unnecessary variation for black, too risky. Aldisto with c5. If I take, what's the problem? You're gonna take on c6, give me tripled pawns. Something outside. Alright guys, I checked with the other computer in the other room. Now I know what to do. No, I had to check something downstairs. Some strange noises. Alright. Guinea pig problems. No, seriously, I'm not going to take that pawn. If I take on c5, bishop takes c6, b takes c, queen takes, king takes, bishop e3. He'll get his pawn back. I have a very messed up pawn structure. On the other hand, I'm not sure what I should do here. I have to get developed. Sorry for disappearing, peoples, but I promise I'll always come back when I disappear. I'll never leave you forever. Friday we had a situation where I almost had to run downstairs. Somebody was ringing the doorbell from the street 4 floors below, and I had no idea who it was. That mystery was finally revealed to me. It wasn't the poster person. All right. Now what about trading queens here? It's like a better ending for white. White's handled this really, really well. Lost the last 2 games against Aldisto. That was a piece blunder. And that was another one where I dropped a piece in a pretty good position. But he's very solid. I was joking with Aldisto, not joking, and I asked Aldisto and Aura Knight if they were the same person because they're both very solid. But we cleared it up and they're different people. they're both very, very solid players. Strange noises, burglars. I've got the fair across the street with the really, really bad pop music. I just have my window open a crack so you can't really hear it. So knight f3. So this looks like a position where his bishop pair could, it could have some potential. Bishop e6, knight g5. That's the problem. There's also like b3, bishop a3. I shouldn't give him ideas, That's why I don't play rated games. Here people are like, why don't you play rated? Well, I mean, most of the time I'm sitting here like giving suggestions and ideas to my opponents, so it's part of what I do. It's probably not practical to like give away ideas to my opponents. f6, unfortunately, well, maybe f6 is a good move, actually. If we just play f6, we don't fear queen b3. Yeah, let's go for it. This may be principled. We get a viable setup with like bishop e6. Rule out knight g5 permanently. Maybe this is what we got to do. The only way I can really see black's position harmonizing here. Eventually I'm going to have to play d5, bishop e6. I guess white's better with the bishop pair, theoretically. I've seen positions like this before. I mean, when I analyzed this variation years ago, with bishop takes c3 and whatnot, I mean, I do remember ideas like c5 cropping up in analysis. Had some really now dated book on this system. Guys, I want to thank those of you who have donated to support the stream on my YouTube channel via PayPal. Even just $5 or $10 a year. It does a lot to help me keep this going. We've been going since the end of February last year. So a year and like 2 months, basically streaming. In the summer, I'm going to warn you guys in advance. I did it last year. We're going to do it again. I'm going to go to the US probably at some point, not so distant future. So things will change. The schedule will change. We'll have a summer schedule, basically. You don't have to worry about it yet, but this will go into effect probably the end of June, beginning of July. July and August will be streaming with a different schedule, American-based time schedule. Not seeing any chat. Sometimes I think my stream has frozen or something. Sometimes people just don't have anything to say in the chat, so. Last comments, we're talking about last game, and then the strange noises and burglars, and since then we haven't had any chat. Scotty Pippen says, yes, US time, don't need to wait till 3 a.m. Yeah, exactly. It's cool for the people who are from the US. Now we're going to get out of here. Develop. Try to adhere to fundamental principles when I play chess as much as possible. Yeah, we're going to try to do probably like 4 streams a week instead of 6, and it will be afternoon, early evening, USA time. European guys are going to be in trouble though. It's going to be late for the European guys instead of for the American guys and girls, because we have lots of girls watching the stream. I know. Lots of groupies, and chess is unfortunately it's too dominated by men, but it's not the case across the board. Rook d1. He's got pressure on my d6 pawn. Originally the plan was to play queen d7, but I'm having some second thoughts about that, being that my queen will be on the file with his rook. I guess we'll bail and play queen c7, give up on my fantasies of playing bishop h3 and all that kind of stuff. I think this is safer for the general safety of my position, guarding b7, getting off the file. You know, he's got this positional stuff with like queen a3. But anyway, we can face off with rook d8, and I think we'll be okay here. White has a symbolic advantage with the bishop pair, not really doing that much. Last year, that's what I did with the stream, and it worked out fine. Up and coming events, I'm going to be going away on the 17th, so there won't be any stream between the 17th and 26th or something like that. 17th and 27th. You guys are going to miss me again, but I'm not getting any younger, so we need to try to play while I'm still in my middle age, and gain a few rating points for a change. I'm kind of stagnating 2381. My last tournaments I gained like no rating points. I want to get over 2400 by the end of the year. It's not a really big goal, but it's a place to start. What's the time control for a normal tournament? It varies, definitely. c4 has been played. Well, I'm not happy about being backward along the d file. On the other hand, I could just play d5 and bust out here. I guess it makes sense. The other option would have been knight f5, trying to stick a knight on d4 maybe. Well, that leaves me remaining backward along the file. I think if we have a chance to unbackwardize our d-pawn, it's probably the right strategy. This should equalize for black, basically. If it doesn't lose, it probably equalizes. He has a so-called bishop pair, but I've been in this sort of situation with white a lot. And I have a strong center pawn on e5. White does not, you know. So I think that offsets his... It should offset his advantage, more or less. Bishop c5. Got to be careful about his a pawn, but it could get trapped if I try to snipe that pawn with the the other rook. Oh, queen h4. Well, queen h4 is sort of surprise. What is going on now? He's offering me the a pawn for real. Looks kind of greedy to take that pawn. Is he going to attack me on h7 or something? I don't know, guys. Maybe we can... Oh, blunder. Oh, well. Alright, I don't know. Taking on a2 looks kind of risky. I'm going to go fundamental here. Now, they got the DJ at the carnival across the street. Really bad pop and really, really bad carnival DJs. It's like a joke. I'm so glad I can't hear it that loud, and I'm also glad that it's in Hungarian, so it's harder for me to understand. Things are more irritating when they're in your native language. I could just sort of tune out the Hungarian, muffled Hungarian. Wow, so this guy is like, what? Now he's gonna try to steal another pawn on me? Bishop takes a2. I don't know. It's so solid. It's like ridiculous. His readings are very consistent. I don't like h6. I was just kind of getting short of time here. h6 is a weakening I didn't really need to create in my position, I think. It's not the end of the world. He's gonna... Getting out. b4 has been played. Wow. Okay, that's not happening. The knight is not coming to f4. Not today. I should take with the f pawn here. Get an outside pawn going on. Ooh. I just blundered that with check. It's not the first game I melted down against Aldis, though. It looks somewhat drawish. I guess we're a tad less overextended than our counterpart, but it's going to be hard for me to avoid him not sacrificing for the last pawn. I think objectively, is this theory? C5 is played by Malikov and Ferenc Berkes. Interesting. Not the main move, but it has track record. So we're following these games here. Adiban, 2013. Knight f3. Well, I think it was alright. In the endgame, now, the endgame we kind of butchered, both of us, because we were very, very low on time. But I think objectively it was about equal. He made a little bit of a dangerous decision, letting me have this outside pawn here. I don't think that white should necessarily... Maybe knight g2 was a bad move, but he shouldn't exchange on g5, maybe. I'm not sure. we're a little bit better here. And then I played b5. And I guess here, well, it's still probably a draw. Knight f3, preventing knight d4. I missed this. And I'm better. Alright. Anyway, we'll just highlight the things I missed, not the things he missed. It's like fake news. We just control the media the way we want to make it look, you know. It looked like I was close to winning. We won't highlight the point where he was probably close to winning. Right in the States, I'm in Massachusetts. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I went to school in Boston, and I lived in Boston for over 15 years. So before I moved to Hungary in 2004, I was a Massachusetts resident, still technically a Massachusetts resident. Two-time state champion of the great state of Massachusetts. All right, actually, been a while since I won the Mass Open. 2003, perhaps. No, yeah, I was like, yeah, maybe co-champion with Alexander Ivanov around 2003. Constant change. I played bishop c4 against bishop c4, knight a5 against him. He's probably looked that up, so I'm going to go back to my main line. But I'm from the southern part of New Jersey near Philadelphia. I was born in Camden, New Jersey. It's a really exclusive place, and it's basically a suburb of Philadelphia. So when people ask me where I'm from, it would be easiest to say like I'm from Philadelphia. Bishop b3. He's castled kingside kind of early, and we're not going to worry about very nasty stuff like the Velimirovich attack and castling queenside. We had several games with this guy already. He's recently switched to playing bishop c4, and he's played bishop g5, which is a kind of weird move against me, and a4. The most normal move for white here is probably bishop e3. Bishop e3, a4. a4 is unusual. It's not bad. Grandmaster Larry Christensen played this against me in Blitz a lot. His student Josh Friedel, who's now a GM, borrowed it from him. He was playing a4. I've actually played a3 a lot with white, but usually I would play it early, like on move 7. I played a3 against Jan Elvest. I like a3 because it's not as weakening as a4. It's a different plan though. You're not restricting. It's very strange, this constant change system. You don't see this in the database. Bishop g5, a4, and bishop b3. It's something he sort of invented, but it seems playable for white. Typically the Sozin bishop on c4, bishop g5. These two don't really gel very well together. So typically black can equalize when you set that up. I'm not a New Englander by birth. I'm just an adopted New Englander who lives in Budapest. When I call my bank, they're like, they don't understand. They have a customer who lives in Budapest. All right. Bishop d7. Yeah, I think we played bishop d7 in a previous game. Idea like knight takes d4, bishop c6. Morning from California. When do you know that you've plateaued in one's chess understanding? Well, it's harder to tell if you're not a tournament player. I mean, I think for tournament players who've been playing regularly in competitive over-the-board chess tournaments for years, you see your rating plateau, you know. But I mean, I guess you've got online ratings too, so Rating is probably the number one sign. I mean, that's how we measure our general ability. Ratings have limitations, of course. I guess you just kind of feel it. I don't know. You can feel you're not improving. Where in the States will you be? We need to get our shit together. Guys, I'm going to be streaming for another 40 minutes or so. Time for several more games. At least 2 more games, I would imagine. These games are pretty long. 8+3. It's, you know, this is a time control that can theoretically last 20 minutes. So, or even more. Technically, if it's like a 200 move game. So we got at least 2 more games. Hopefully. If constant change and I use all our time, and the next game is the maximum, we'll be down to like 10 minutes or something. What? And morning is technically not morning because I haven't slept yet. Monday. King H1. He's avoiding any sort of commitment here. I had a game against this opponent where I went knight a5, rook c8, and queen c7. I'm reluctant to play rook c8 here because if knight takes c6, my pieces get kind of bottled up. But I'm also reluctant to play knight takes d4 because that develops his queen for him. You should always take into consideration what you're doing for your opponent's pieces. It's kind of like the Americans saying, the patriotic, it's not what you can do for your country. It's not what you can do for you. It's not what your country can do for you. It's what you can do for your country or whatever. Think about what your pieces are doing for you and what your opponent's pieces, if that makes any sense. Think about your opponent's pieces too. That's very stupid. Example I'm trying to draw here. Anyway, I'm just getting a little bit loopy now after the second hour of streaming, trying to say something smart that sort of sounds stupid. Alright, we're going to trade, and this is a bit of a concession, I admit. We do develop his queen efficiently for him. Now, for our next trick, maybe queen a5, hitting that bishop with tempo. White's really well developed though, and constant change has a good feel for the pieces. I mean, his pieces are really very maximally active. It's not what you can do for your country. It's not, I can't say it right. It's not what your country can do for you. What you can do for your country. I'm still trying to say it correctly. Is that like a... Was that Kennedy or Roosevelt? Anyway. It's not what your pieces can do for you. It's what you can do for your pieces. So think about your opponent's pieces. Knight takes e4. It's very important to learn prophylactic thinking and thinking about, like, not just what your own pieces can do, but think about restricting your opponent's pieces. By playing knight takes d4, I helped his queen establish itself on a very powerful position. I also helped him to effectively, like, double his rooks. It was kind of a lazy move by me. So now we're a little bit under pressure. I think it's still fine for black, this position. But we don't leave ourselves with a really big margin for error here. It looks kind of critical. Like, black has to be very careful. I feel like he's got almost a rouser type of... God, this could... You know, it could transpose to a mainline rouser, except for the fact that he's, like, put his pawn on a4, which is a little strange. This could easily transpose to a bishop e7 classical Sicilian rouser. It was JFK, okay. I wasn't sure if it was JFK or Roosevelt. I'm from Massachusetts. I should know that. I probably did it one time, but I forgot. Like his most famous quote. Yeah, I'm a little bit. Bishop d2 is nice and passive. So f4. I'm saying this practically transposes to an actual position from the Richter Rouser. I was gonna play like rook d8, try to discourage him from playing e5 there. Well, I could play h6, but bishop d2. This is essentially kind of a passive move for white. Now I could play queen e5. I would think that would equalize. Am I going to have problems with that e5 pawn, though? I don't know. It's a little bit... better for white, maybe. The fact that my e5 pawn is vulnerable. I think he has to trade queens. Triple attacking e4. I needed to move my queen. I mean, the thing is that any other move seems like it leaves white with an advantage. You could play queen h5, but I don't know, where am I going after queen h5? My queen is just sort of stuck outside the pawn chain in a weird place. This was the safest move for me. Attacking e4 now. We've got knight d7, knight c5 type maneuvers. There's the battle for the d file. You can't really play a5 without that pawn getting really weak. We could also play b5. Something to keep in mind. I think the timing of that is important. I don't want to play it right away if he can go knight a2 and jump a knight on b4. So first we play knight d7. Ooh, he had knight d5 there. Tactics could be good. I play the Sicilian so much that I see tactics in my sleep in these kind of positions that I'm used to. There's a very important thing about like playing positions that you're comfortable with, that you have experience with. Intuition is something you gain. You know, if this was an opening I never played before, I probably wouldn't see knight d5. But I mean, it's happened to me so many times in similar types of positions that it just becomes like kind of intuitive, you know, to see this sort of sacrifice. I played it safe here. I mean, you could do something more adventurous than trading queens. Why the F rook? Because we want the king to approach the center. You know, now, internet problem, he said. Could have fooled me. The problem is bishop b6 is a threat. He says he has an internet problem. I have to do this before he plays bishop b6, it looks like. Should I even check him? I mean, does that even benefit me? I'm not sure. Maybe f5? Check in f5? I'm not sure that this check, actually benefits black. Another commitment is like f5. I mean, my pawns are doubled and a little bit fragile, so I want to make sure when I play this move that he can't attack those pawns. Feels like the most aggressive plan for me. Now bishop d4. Putting pressure on his center. We can win a pawn in an opposite color bishop ending here. I'm just afraid that maybe I should have gone for it. I should have gone for it straight up. Maybe b5. He's trying to get his king to c4. Wow. It's pretty nasty. I should have won the pawn earlier. Right about here when he played bishop c1. Bishop takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, pawn. He's found a way of defending the pawn on... I see. That's the point. Oh, now he can even go to like c4. Slightly better for black with the two bishops, but it's not that easy, and I don't know that I have any way to make progress here. It's very possible this is just a draw. I mean, I should keep trying, but I don't think it's enough advantage to win. I think this is probably a draw. Maybe I should have taken the pawn. Opposite color bishop endgames tend to be drawish. Looks like we'll have time for at least one more game. Online Wiki is leaving. Try to undermine his center. Right, well, that is not part of the program. Trading bishops is not what you want to do when you have the bishop pair in an ending like this. I do not want to trade bishops. He's tied down to e4. And then we're kind of... he's secured e4 again. Maybe g4. The problem is... he might not be losing here. Just might not be enough for me to win this. If b4, b5. Actually, if b4, I could win a pawn on a4. Uh-oh. Okay, that's a very risky move. King c4. Mobilizing my majority. Now it looks bad for white. I've got 4-on-3 majority working. Still, he might be okay. I don't know, man. I guess not. I mean, this pawn looks really strong. Well, I hope it wasn't your internet problem. Analysis board. I think you were equal when you got the king to d3. Even here, you're probably still okay. This king c4, I guess, was a blunder, allowing f4 there. You're still hanging on in this position for white. It's not quite enough for black to win, looks like. As far as the opening goes, yeah, the engine likes queen e5. But bishop d2 is weird. Why not just f4? Actually, this is very, very similar to a game I had against Hikaru when he was a little kid. Very similar line, like h6, bishop h4, queen h5. I had a game with the young Nakamura where I actually snuck a pawn on him. Somehow I won a pawn in one of these positions with e5. A very similar position to this. All right, CCETS. This might be the last game. I think this will probably be the last game for today, guys. We're cutting it close, and unless it's a very quick one, you know, if one of us loses quickly. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow with Blitz and Classical Chess. Anything between 5-3 and 8-3. Your choice. Oh, cool. Okay, so Classical Nimzo. Don't tell anyone, but I've been working on B6 a lot. This will probably be viewed by bishop d2. The critical move is e4. He played bishop d2. This is not going to help my theoretical researches on this line. CCETS. It might help your result, but it's not going to help my theoretical researches. Well, I mean, I don't think a bishop d2 is a bad move. You know, you can play it on move 4 too. It's a strange move. It doesn't really have a name. It was played by both Alekhine and Capablanca. It's just a very, very rare sort of non-committal move. I think that I saw maybe Julio Grande Zuniga play that as well. CBX Master was waiting for an hour. Waiting for an hour. Well, let's hope this game is over quickly then. A3. If I go back to e7, white has e4. I should have a good game there. So I think we've got to play Nimzovich style. Knight e4 is possible. Castles is possible, but I think this is sort of principled, you know, get rid of that bishop. And it's equal. Black equalizes, but I don't think I'm better. Ghost Mind challenges me. This position has probably been reached in some really old games. It looks like transposes to a bazillion games from like the early part of the 20th century. White's playing like super solid. But it's not dangerous for black. This player we only played with once. Not too many games. That's a good reason. Well, yeah, this makes you not really want to play the black side of the Nimzo against a low-rated player. Just sort of trade the pieces and get this ultra-boring position. B4 now. Speaking of ultra-boring, that's not an ultra-boring move. That's like a very aggressive move. He's moving quickly, and I just realized he's only used like 15 seconds for the whole game. Now, maybe we take toward away from the center and play hanging pawns here. He's got a4, a5 type of stuff though, so he has a lot of counterplay. But his queen is kind of weird and exposed. Yeah, I'll just stay as long as you guys want, indefinitely. If there's more challengers, I'll be here all day. Ghostmine's still banned in the chat. He's probably banned in the chat. It's possible. He never really chatted, just to complain. Basically. Why is castling kingside better? And is there good openings which aim for a queenside castling? Well, queenside castling obviously is going to depend on the position. It's more typically done with white. It's more typically done in king pawn openings, where the c pawn isn't moved forward, as it is in most queen pawn games like this. But there certainly are, you know, and even in this particular variation with queen c2, even in this particular variation with queen c2, there are lines with castle's queenside. I mean, castle's queenside mobilizes the rook to d1, you know, and it can be. Yevgeny Bareyev played a lot of classical Nimzos with castling queenside. It can be done, definitely. CCETS playing like a pro. Absolutely playing like a pro with A4. I don't know. I think he like pre-moved E takes D. Who is CCETS? Did you pre-move E takes D? Because that was the fastest recapture I've ever seen in a game here, I think. He must have pre-moved it. It's a safe pre-move, right? Because like you can never get screwed. It's not a legal move unless I take on D4. It's sort of disturbing. You like pre-moving here. Maybe rook fc8. Rook c8, a5, rook c7, take. Something like that. Looks pretty solid. But he uses like Nula time. Yeah, anyway, dude, it's not important. If somebody's banned in the chat, then they're banned for a reason. You don't have to like publicly humiliate them. So this is the plan, rook c7, Karpov style. One of Karpov's favorite defensive moves. White is playing like perfectly. And so fast too. He's like 1700 or something. No, I mean, we don't know much about this account, right? Ultra Bullet, 44 games, 1200. Blitz, 1778 games. Bullet, 32 games. And Classical, the highest rating of all, 72 games. Who is CCETS? Do your biggest center pawn losses with rooks. I would definitely do rook f(c)8. But CMB master, I don't think that, I mean, it was an obvious decision. But there was a very concrete reason why I decided to do that. For one thing, if he plays a5, let's talk about it for a second, okay? That moment where I played rook a(c)8, it's a good question. I mean, I thought about rook f(c)8 too. I'm not sure it's a bad move, dude. Actually, this situation, I think, it can go either way. I think it was a close call, to be honest with you. The 1200 Ultra Bullet. I'm a little worried about my back rank, to be honest. Why don't I take on f3? Bishop takes f3. How bad is that position, like if he takes with a pawn, for example? It's not that bad for white. It's kind of a deceptive position. I'm not convinced, that the bishop takes f3 is even that good for me. It's a good long range piece. He takes with the pawn, and then okay, his pawn structure is broken up, but I've got a problem with my b6 pawn too, and his c4 pawn is really solidly protected after that. I'm not sure that taking on f3 is good. I would definitely think like long and hard before deciding on that. And now it's still not clear, is it? Rook a7. We try to make moves that are always going to be useful. King e7 is hopefully universally profitable here. Maybe I can play this endgame with better king position. I could have traded there. In fact, bishop takes f3, rook takes c7, rook takes c7, with at least an equal position. A little bit careful with him having potential outside pass pawn. He used the time machine. He's the young Naka. No, young Naka was my last opponent. That was constant change. Now he's avoiding the exchange. Why is he suddenly avoiding the exchange of that? Position is changing. Now my king position is sort of questionable again. This guy is so solid now. How am I going to break it? Break down his position here. I should have taken on f3 when I had the chance. Did he even like register my move? He just like insta moved. He's like 4 minutes ahead of me. This guy. I don't remember the other game I played with him. Wow, it looked really close, actually. He's only 4 minutes ahead on the clock in the drawn position. That's how easily he can draw me. Maybe I should play rook d7. Right, anyway. Let's play another game. Master Freedom. I don't think that anybody had any center-pawn loss in the last game. Master Freedom, you better be here after this, because I mean, I really don't have time for this game, but you were complaining. He probably left or something. Alright. I'm going to play this a little faster because I really have just 10 minutes. White played the last game flawlessly. It was probably one of the most boring games in the world, but what can you do? We're just going to play this one a little faster. I really have to get going at 1 o'clock. I don't know why everybody plays this line against me. It's not even a variation. It's exceedingly popular to put your knight on c6. This is another guy who's going to be like... Exceedingly popular to put the knight on c6. It's not really a line. It is a very rare line. I saw Ivan Isevich play this last year in Zalakaros with black, but it's funny how popular it is. You know, you'd think that people wouldn't want to put their knight on c6 in front of the pawn, but they love to do this with black. I just get it. I get it almost constantly. Alright, now, he can't play b5 right away. That's good. Hard to beat someone that doesn't make any mistakes. If you know a way to do that, let me know, because I would like to find out. Yeah, knight there looks kind of risky for black. If I really wanted to win the last game against a lower rated player, I probably wouldn't play the Nimzo Indian. And if I did play that variation, I wouldn't play it the way I did. You know, if winning was a priority, that's not the best way to go about it. Allowing a lot of exchanges, like 2 sets of minor pieces go off in the first 15 moves. That's my kind of like grandmaster repertoire with black. I mean, if I'm playing another player who's 400 points lower, I'm not going near that position with like a 10-foot pole, of course. I mean, I played against the last opponent as if it was another player with my own rating, basically. I have to take chances in order to beat lower rated players. I'm not going to go into the most boring Nimzo Indian of all time. I'd probably play the King's Indian in most cases, or something more dynamic. There are other ways to play the Nimzo. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but the way I played that, you know, wouldn't be good. F6 is pretty dubious. Black's already in trouble here. White has just total dominance of the center. And the Catalan, I mean, he needs to get in like b5 and counter fianchetto, or find some way to solve the problem of the bad bishop. I mean, another way to play it, of course, which nobody ever does for whatever reason. I don't really like knight f6. Like, You're committed to knight f6. Knight f6 and knight c6. Okay, here, alright, whatever. You got to play this, but I think in this position now, instead of bishop e7, you might have something more active like bishop b4 check. I'm not sure. Queen e8. Said I was going to play this quickly, but I had to start thinking now. d5. Now my rook is on d1. Queen e8 is a good move, I guess. We'll see. Master X Freedom basically begged me to play one more game, but I really have to go in like 5 minutes. No, I'm leaving in 5 minutes, so I can't play the Alekhine in the game. I've been known to, though. It's not part of my tournament repertoire, but I do play it a lot in Blitz here. I also play it in tournament games when I'm completely mentally destroyed and on tilt. But I don't consider myself to be theoretically knowledgeable enough to be a serious Alekhine's defense player. Wow, Queen f7. Alright. What is Black doing? Just sort of huddling. He's huddling on the back 3 ranks. We get this type of strategy from time to time. It's hard to break Black down. I was hoping for something a little more wide open here. Trying to win quickly. I decided to play b3. Give myself Sam Collins. I once lost to Sam Collins. He played the Trompowsky, and for some reason, I don't know why, I played like, I wanted to surprise him, so I played like d4, knight f6, bishop g5, c6 for the only time in my life. I hadn't yet found a good antidote to the Trompowsky. It's not a terrible line, but it's not really good for white. Black, I mean, whatever. Black's playing this really well now. Speaking of freedom, he's finding freedom for all his pieces. Bishop b4. I mentioned that earlier now. Rook d8. This bishop can get out. It reminds you of a very strategic player, Black. Not with a lot of opening theoretical knowledge, but he understands what he has to do. Sounds like they have a... It sounds like a marching band now outside. Hungarian marching band. May Day celebrations with a weird, very, very cheesy carnival across the street from my building. They're really getting in the revelry now. That's nice and passive, okay? Yeah, this is... My knight is misplaced here, actually. I don't like it anymore. On c3. Dude, I mean, seriously, like... This is the game you play against me when I got no time. Super, super closed. Hard to break through. Now his bishop is hanging out to dry. Threatening c7. I didn't like my knight on c3, honestly. Blocking my bishop, blocking my rook. In the Catalan, I mean, typically it's often better on d2 anyway. Just because of the importance of the c file in this opening for white. Guys, we're going to be back tomorrow. Blitz and Classical Chess, 10 a.m. CET. Thank you for tuning in, and whatever happens, happens here. I'm going to try to make it happen fast. I've got to go. 17A3, well, I mean, then he trades. I was hoping to be a little trickier. Try to avoid exchanges. Punish the knight with the usual h4, h5 type of advance. So typically does happen with knights on g6. He's got knight on g6, knight on b6. h5 is... h5 is a good sign. It's pretty weakening for black. Can create some... We've got ambulances and everything. Wow, he's hanging c7. I didn't realize. I'm a little slow to pick up. So we're fortunate. I mean, I guess he had to play like knight back to f8 or something. Fortunate that we won that pawn. It certainly wasn't forced. But I just didn't want to allow him exchanges, you know, and he has less space, so sort of standard policy. No tricks, please. I think the Budapest must have like the most noise pollution of any city I've ever lived in. It's so constant, ambulances and weird sounds all the time. Alright, what's up now? We're going to bring Bishop back home and give myself a square. I might maneuver knight f1, knight to e3 here. We're basically trading pieces. Should be beneficial for me, since I'm up a pawn. We're over to the 1 o'clock. And I really needed to go. Looks like Master X Freedom can move pretty fast when he wants to. Uh-oh. That's too much, though. Alright, we made it just in time. Thank you, guys. I will be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. CET. Thanks to thanks to all you guys for being here. And again, if you'd like to check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube, you can also support the stream and my YouTube channel with a donation via PayPal. Much appreciation to those of you who have made a small donation. And we will keep the stream and YouTube going on for another year. So anyway, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. CET, we'll see you guys again here on Twitch and lichess. Thanks for joining us. Good games today. Bye-bye.